Hi, have you recently applied for a UK visa through the IDV app? Or are you awaiting for a decision on your UK visa application after having submitted biometrics through the IDV app? Then you need to watch this video. In this video, I'm going to explain how you can escalate your UK visa application if you have submitted biometrics through the IDV app. And I'll also be providing an update on my wife's Tier 2 visa application request and the escalation process that we followed. Hello and welcome to The Nimble Nomad. My name is Arjun, and on this channel we talk about the tips, tricks and hacks to survive and thrive in the UK, and I'll also share my personal experience with living life in the UK. In this video, I'm going to provide an update on my wife's Tier 2 visa application submission after she submitted her biometrics through the IDV app, and I'll also share the experience that we had after we submitted an escalation request for my wife's visa application. So the main reason I'm actually doing this video is because back in July, my wife submitted her visa application, and then in September submitted her biometrics through the IDV app. And a lot of other people have also done the same thing, but actually have not had a decision come through or actually had any notification come through. And I know this because a lot of people have commented on the videos that I produce and publish on my channel. So I'd like to just clarify what's happened since then, and especially if you're in an emergency situation or you need an immediate decision made on your visa application, then I'd like to clarify what is the process for escalating that. Now, before I get into the main content of this video, I do want to clarify that I've done a separate video on what is the IDV app and how do you use it. I'll add a link of it above, and you can go watch that if you're interested or you haven't previously watched that. Now, with that done, let's get into it. So a bit of background and context. A couple of months ago, my wife needed to apply for her UK visa application extension, and it was specifically in relation to a UK Tier 2 visa dependent extension, which was being made from within the UK. Now, I wanted to be really clear about that in case you're applying for a different type of visa or an extension request, either outside of the country or through a different mechanism. Now, her Tier 2 visa actually was scheduled to expire, or rather has expired, on the 30th of October. And I just want to be clear that we've actually still not received a decision about her visa application. Now, her visa application actually should be really straightforward because it's just an extension, because she doesn't meet the requirements for an indefinite leave to remain at the moment. And I already have an indefinite leave to remain. So I just want to make this really clear for people who are watching and are really concerned about their application process. Don't worry, I'm in the same boat as you probably are. So to elaborate a little bit more, I've actually made a timeline of events in relation to my wife's UK visa extension. And I'll bring that up on screen and I'll walk you through what actually has happened up until this point, including the process of escalation that we've gone through. And then I'll get into the actual escalation mechanism and what happened with that. Okay, so from a perspective of context and background, basically the visa application or the Tier 2 visa extension submission for my wife was submitted back on the 15th of July. And following that, what happened was we didn't hear anything at all, obviously because we're in this current situation of 2020. And we then got a email which basically said that the service had, or the UKVI had launched a new process which was through something called the IDV app. And so we got this email on the 6th of August. But they didn't tell us that we needed to use it at that point. They just said that my wife was eligible, and if she wanted to use it, she could go ahead and do so. If she didn't want to use it, then she would have to go for an in-person appointment. Obviously, we were quite hesitant because of what's going on globally and the sickness that's around. So we decided to go with the IDV app. Now, after the deadline for deciding whether you want to use the IDV app or go in for an in-person appointment passed, they sent us an invitation for using and downloading the IDV app. And this came in on the 29th of August, so approximately about 3 weeks later. And then what happened was we just had to collate all the documentation that was being requested and just be ready for it. So a couple of days passed, and then my wife submitted her biometrics and documentation through the IDV app on the 1st of September. Now, after we submitted it on the 1st of September, we did not hear anything at all. So there was no email, there was no SMS notification, no phone call, nothing. It was just simply a submission, and we waited and we waited. And, finally, my wife got fed up, and I got quite worried as well, because her visa was scheduled to expire on the 30th, and we were just a month away. So we contacted the UKVI regarding the application which was made, and we asked for an escalation, and this was done on the 9th of October. Now, I'll get into what the escalation was and how you can do it if you want to do it. But we did the escalation on the 9th, and they basically didn't come back to us until the 26th. And the decision obviously still hasn't come through, as I said earlier, and my wife's visa has now expired on the 30th. So this is just the current state of the timeline. I'll do a further update on this once we hear back, but this is where we are at the moment. Okay, so now that I've walked you through what was the timeline and at what point did we actually escalate, let me actually get into why we did the escalation and what was the escalation about, or how did we do it. So basically, after a month and a half almost of having submitted biometrics and not having heard anything back, we were getting really worried. We were like, okay, I'm sure a lot of you who are watching this and have submitted your documentation and biometrics through the IDV app are probably in the same situation. So we were getting really worried like you, and we just said, okay, my wife did a bit of research and she found that there is a mechanism by which you can escalate. And not only were we worried, but my wife works for a corporate company, and they were asking, okay, so what's happening with your visa extension, because we need to ensure that we have the right to remain and we have proof that you are eligible to work in the UK. So she was getting worried, I was getting worried, everybody's getting worried. So we basically contacted the number, which I'm going to bring up on screen now. And we called them up and we said that because of the reasons I've just mentioned around my wife's job, and also the time which has elapsed since we've submitted it and not heard anything back, we would like to escalate. So basically, when you call this number up and you select the relevant option on the basis of your own visa application, they will ask you for your name, your phone number, your email address, and most importantly, your UK visa application reference number. Now, once you provide this, they then log that, and they obviously ask you why you're escalating it as well. In my wife's case, the escalation was because her job was at risk, or rather the company was asking about her right to remain in the UK. So they will then say that the team is going to process this on the back end, and you have to call back in 10 working days in case you have not heard back. So they are supposed to come back to you within 10 working days. Now, in our case, when we did this, we actually never heard back for 10 working days. So on the 10th working day, and I'm saying this very clearly, on the 10th working day, my wife called back again. And the team actually said, you call back before the 10 working days have elapsed. So you need to call back again after the 10 working days have elapsed. But basically, we should have sent you an email. And so again, we had to call them. And then finally, we contacted them and managed to get through and make sure all the details were correct and re-escalated. And then recently, or rather the other day, we received an email which has been submitted, and it basically says this. So I'm just bringing it up on screen. And basically all it says is that you're in a queue, and there are a lot of other applications which are in a queue, and there's nothing to worry about. Unfortunately, because of the situation, the process is quite significantly delayed. if you followed all the steps and guidance that we've provided you in relation to submitting your documentation through the IDV app, then you shouldn't have to worry about anything. And if there's anything that we need from you with regards to your application, then we will be in touch with you. So I mean, after 3 weeks of having escalated this, that's all we got. Albeit not great result, but at least some sort of confirmation that the process is happening, and it's just that it's going to take a little bit longer, and we don't know when the result is going to come out. But so that was the outcome. Now, obviously, if you are in a different situation or in a different scenario to us, so you have another reason for the escalation. Maybe you need to travel abroad for an emergency or anything like that, then maybe they might process your application a bit faster, because I think usually when you submit your visa application, you're not allowed to travel outside the country. So it's just something to keep in mind, and hopefully this will help you out. Now, that's all I wanted to do, or rather talk about in this video. I really hope that this has helped some people, or if not a lot of people out, because I know this is a very, very valid question or query, and a very popular query that's being raised on the comments in my channel. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who are struggling with this. So, the one thing I would say is don't worry. Like you, I'm in, or rather my wife is in a very similar situation. So there are a lot of other people who are probably experiencing this as well. I'm sure that the UK Visa and Immigration team is going to contact you with a application decision, and they may ask for more documentation if you've not submitted the documentation, or they'll at least tell you what's happened with your documentation whenever the time is right. The key thing to remember is, even if your BRP has expired, which is the case in my wife's scenario, what you can do is you can submit your UK visa application reference number to your employer and say that the application is under process. So you do have the legal right to remain in the UK, as is the case with us. So I hope this has helped you out, and if it did, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And I'd love to hear any comments or questions if I've not covered something in this video, and I'll be happy to respond to your queries. But that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time. Thanks guys. Bye.